Hey, all my Libra friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your June 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Libra, I'm referring to Libra rising. This is also applicable to Libra sun as well as Libra moons. And if you have a stellium, which is 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Libra, this video is applicable to you as well. When I refer to the day and the time, it's based on the Pacific time zone. So please adjust for your location. Let's jump in. The month starts off really very nicely. You've been having the South Node traveling through your first house, and this is making a favorable aspect here to your ninth house energy. The ninth house is naturally ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter has entered the ninth house, and while it is in what they call its detriment, that's the furthest position away from its home in Sagittarius, Jupiter's a natural foreign traveler. So here, Jupiter gets to experience the neighborhood, the community, the mind that runs everyday life. So this is going to go on for about a year, till June 2025. And here we see Venus and the sun. This is going to transit pretty quickly, but this is really very benign and favorable energy. All these nice blue lines, the trine here, and then they're making sextiles to this energy over here with the moon and the north node. Even Pluto is playing nicely with Jupiter, offering an expansion in my beliefs, an awareness of what sits beneath me. When I say sits beneath me, it's that deep psychological imprint where I make my decisions that I don't even realize I'm making them. We see that Aquarius is your fifth house, and there is a transit going on of retrograde of Pluto in the house that represents your personal expression. You're birthing your own creativity into the world, your sense of joy and fun and entertainment and good laughs, all good times in the fifth house. So there's an opportunity here in an easy way to expand that experience, to sort of reframe it and to see it from a bigger picture. So this is very favorable. A little bit of a challenge in your seventh house is this Chiron and Mars conversation. This has been going on since late May, and Mars is very strong, ruling Aries. So it's very focused on it. It's where it's been wounded. And I venture to say that there could be a lack of seeing the self within the partnership. Maybe Libra is not feeling their true sense of their individuality being able to blossom, or the history of that individuality within your relationships, personal relationships, professional relationships that are contractually bound. So there could be a kicking up of the dust per se, but also there's an opportunity to transform that wound into the gift. And that's what I think all this positive energy coming in this Aries house means for you. This north node and the moon here is a real awareness of my emotional needs to be seen as an individual, but there's also the opportunity for Libra to express itself as an individual. Sometimes being the sign of partnerships makes it very easy to default to the idea of a we versus a me. Let's go over to the third, where we're going to see Mercury enter your ninth house. This is Mercury in its home in Gemini, but this really feels like, it feels so fast when I plug into the energy of Gemini, Mercury, now Jupiter expanding all of that energy. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your experiences. You could find a lot of social activities, a lot of emails and correspondence. There could be even a kicking up of your business or the work that you do. The ninth house rules many, many things, and lots of them have to do with travel. So people who work in airports, people who work in train stations, people who work in transit in any way, import, export, tourism, that could all fall under this house. You could find yourself traveling for your children in some way, or you could find your thoughts just really expanding about wanting to move your story forward. You could find yourself dreaming of, what would it be like if I decided to, at this chapter in my life, broaden my education in some way? We do see this nice little conjunction between Venus, your ruling planet, and the sun. They're here together talking about how we want to shine Venus and the sun's skills out into the world. But yet it's making this what's starting to be a pretty tense square to Saturn. Saturn is slowing down. By the end of the month, it'll move just 1 degree. In fact, maybe even a half a degree, because we see the 52 minutes here before it moves retrograde at 19 degrees. I believe it's on the 29th. So when that happens, there's this potential that the things that you've dreamt about, the things that you've wanted to experience, but you've kept to yourself, I want to kind of put it that way. Pisces is your 6th house. It could be dreams of a kind of dreamy, creative career could be coming up. And I want to offer this too, because if for some reason you're feeling run down, or you're feeling tired, or you're feeling a little drained, I guess is the way it feels right now, this could very well be as a result of all this activity up here in your 9th house, and that it feels as if it's calling forth a decision, as if this month is saying, how can we combine things? How can we work things together so that everybody wins? That would be you included. This Mercury and Jupiter really kind of represent the polarities, right? Jupiter represents that big philosophical thought, these diverse ideas. And Mercury's like, look, this is our everyday life. This is what we have to get done. These are where we got to go. These are the errands we got to run. These are the communications we have to have, blah, blah, blah. So here there's a calling forth for Libra to find balance. And that balance starts within your mental process, giving yourself sort of a break as you go through these back and forth energy, because this Sun and Venus starting this square is making me feel like something old is going to come back, that an obligation, a duty, something that makes you feel like it could be a stop if you let it, but then it may not be a stop. It may just be pacing yourself type idea. Here we see that Pluto retrograde in Aquarius in your 5th house of creativity, of your own entertainment, again, continues this trine to Jupiter. So it's supporting the transformation. It's not trying to pull it under, it's trying to uplift it. It almost looks like wind underneath the wings here. But anyway, I get a little fancy. Let's go on to the new moon on the 6th. I think this is a really good new moon, and I'll show you why. This is happening on June 6th at 5:37 a.m. Pacific time. See this nice conjunction of Venus here with the sun and the moon? It's like here we are planting the seeds in the darkness of the new moon, creating new life for something that involves your skills. This is your ruling planet, Libra. So this is about your self-worth, about how you rule your own perception of yourself in your relationships. This is using your skills and your talents. It's even potentially birthing something in the neighborhood, something, close to home, but feels warm and fuzzy. Now, the little bit of the challenge here is the 1.5 here to Pluto. It's interesting because the 1.5 feels as if Pluto always makes me feel like something is lurking in the dark that I can't see. And I'm a little nervous about how it's going to play out. But for me, a square is always like this fork in the road. One side is I can default to my old habits. There's that square we were talking about a minute ago to Saturn, okay? Saturn being in your 6th house of work. And this being, maybe this is an opportunity to try something new, something innovative, something unusual, something unexpected. So this is really, and again, pacing yourself, planting the seeds first in your thoughts, Then in your checking your emotional body, continuing your connection to your divine source as represented by your ninth house of Gemini, and allowing that to be the inspiration for your actions moving forward. Where this trine between Jupiter and Pluto is, to me, very favorable for opening up something in an easier way. And I believe that's even further supported by the sextile that Pluto is making to Neptune. And that is applying my divine skills, my divine knowledge, the things that I know on an intuitive soul level into my everyday experience. And I say this often to my clients, that the shower is a really good time to meditate, to set intentions, to allow the water to run over you, representing the emotional body, and then having that chat with spirit. It's a time when you'll be alone and uninterrupted for the most part. So you might want to start to implement that, because it can be very, very powerful for allowing you to feel the ebb and the flow of everyday monkey mind thoughts, and then the expansive thoughts of what I want to allow myself to give myself permission to experience. I also want to say that, the ninth house by nature is ruled by Sagittarius, which rules business and commerce and publishing and writing and marketing and branding. All of those things to me sound like, internet content, for these social media platforms. So if you want to express yourself out there, I think this is a really good time to start to plant the seeds for that idea and help let you find your voice. What's your perception? Who and what are you in your birthing of your ideas? All right, let's move on to the ninth. This is where we're going to see Mars move into detriment. Now, when a planet is in detriment, it's in the furthest sign from its homeland. And this would be the co-ruler of Scorpio. Mars is the co-ruler of Scorpio. But I think that I kind of perceive it like this for my Libras, because your planet rules this house, this Taurus house of my personal history. Again, using my two hands, using my voice to express myself, to trust myself, to make resources to help me feel safe and secure in the world. Mars over here is making me feel like I got to be brave and I have to pace myself. That would be the Taurus energy. Mars has had its conversation with Chiron about its frustrations, about how I don't get to be me in my relationships. And now Mars is moving into the 8th house of transformation, which is its natural house, the 8th house. So there's a weird home, not home feeling, because Mars is going to be comfortable in the 8th house energy always, but in the Taurus energy, it has to slow down and not run over some of the bigger rocks while you're planting, your garden of your life. So that's the thing I think might be the most challenging. And on this particular day, while the moon moves very quickly, it could be an emotional day. It could be a day where you're feeling more aware of your emotional body as the moon goes through Cancer and makes this square over here as it moves into Leo, it's making a square to Mars, and Mars is making a square to Pluto, and Pluto is in opposition to the moon, creating a T-square with Mars as the focal point. So the tension is, will I let my emotions run amok, or will I be aware of my deep psychological imprint and be brave enough to see my imprint and not villainize myself for it, yet be brave enough to know that sometimes no action is action? We're looking for inspired action at this point, really. Okay, now we have a period of time between the 12th and the 16th that we see a conjunction, even a little bit further, I think. But we see this conjunction between Mercury, the Sun, and Venus. They've moved away from the expansiveness of Jupiter, and now they're kind of clustered here. This feels very social to me. It feels like there's the potential for lots of fun in the neighborhood, maybe hanging out with your children or your siblings, getting together with friends. It just feels super fun to me. I also think that even though the energy of Saturn is slowing down and it's still affecting Mercury here, bringing up, where I may have fears, trepidations, concerns, etc. I also feel like that the square is just reminding me that there are always two choices in everything, two ways to look at things, Gemini. And here it's at that Libra degree. We see Saturn's at the Libra degree, just milliseconds, literally minutes away from the retrograde. So this is a strong standing in the sky. What kind of foundation are you building, Libra? Are you allowing yourself truly to think about how you want to be of service to others? Are you taking care of your health? Are you partying too much, or are you not enjoying yourself enough? I mean, it really could go two ways. And again, we have this in the background of everything is Pluto and Mars, who are, they're the co-rulers of Scorpio. So they are cooperative. They are familiar to one another. And sometimes it's not the fun side of them. It's the more warrior side, the more fiery, brooding, intense. And here, I think on this day, I think this is a pretty tense energy, because now that Mars has got its foot into the Taurus energy, it's realizing how it has to pace itself and look at where its own actions are getting in its way. So am I brooding about something that somebody didn't see me, but am I seeing myself? Or, I was hurt over here and I'm never going to let it go. It's what won't let me move forward. And you have to address, is that really true or isn't it? That's the hard part. And that's also the contribution that Venus, the Sun, and Mercury have in its square to Saturn. But all of this is really just removing the fog, removing any obstacles from allowing you to truly soar. And that's what I believe Pluto's influence is up here to both Uranus and Jupiter. Although Uranus is not playing as strong a role in this moment. Okay, let's look at the 17th. And here we're going to see Venus and Mercury have both moved into Cancer. And that is your 10th house of career, of the public eye. It's the mother energy out loud for everyone to see. And here we have the feminine energy of Venus joined in with the mother and feminine energy of Cancer, the receptive energy. Now, the 0 degree, both planets are just feeling this watery. It's like going from, being in, I almost feel like when I go to Gemini, it's like being in something that's super windy, maybe even like I'm in a windy city, and then I go from a windy city into the ocean waters, which sometimes can be initially shocking, right? Cold. So I think this quincunx to Pluto is really, it's like an underbelly feeling. It's like I've moved into a more emotional space, and I'm having a day. I don't know why I'm having it. I feel a little funky. We can even say that the moon at this time in Scorpio is contributing to it, as it makes a quincunx to the expansion that is being called forth from Jupiter here. So it could be a little funky day. I'm not going to lie about that. And I also think that the continuing square between Pluto and Mars, while it is not, it's loosening up, it's still in play. And we see that the moon is in a direct opposition, at least at noon, midday. Be mindful of how, moon in opposition to action. This is where sometimes our history makes us just want to crawl back in bed and go, why? I don't know. I'm not sure. I feel unsure. And I think that this is part of the ebb and the flow that you get to give yourself, Libra. It's part of the balance of knowing that some days you may feel a little unsure. And if you give into it, you get to ask yourself, is giving into it easier than it is being brave to assert myself out there into whatever my unique expression is, whatever makes me feel like I'm having fun. And in the sign of Aquarius, being your 5th house is definitely going to be unique, unexpected, a little rebellious even, forward thinking ideas. So gentle, 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 always be gentle. We also see that Neptune, this could be contributing to maybe wanting to go back to bed that day, is making a kind of a tough square to these two planets again at the 0 degree, where I'm just feeling this suddenly emotional. I was feeling so intellectual, or I was really in my cerebral energy over here a few weeks ago, and now I just feel emotional. And Saturn's reminding you, Libra at the 19th degree, just milliseconds from moving retrograde. So it's going to hang out at that Libran degree, that everything is about balance. And sometimes when you take the time to recuperate, to honor the emotional body, it actually gives you an opportunity to be inspired. So, and I say that because the spirit has shown me repeatedly that the reason humans need to sleep, every 72 hours or they go crazy, is because when we sleep, we connect with the truth of who we are. We connect with our oversoul. We connect with the bigness that is us, whether we are conscious of it in our physical experience is not necessary for it to fuel us and keep us tethered. So we also kind of see a T-square to Pluto here between the moon, Mars, but this might be a little bit of a challenging day. I just have to say it. Okay, here, let's go on to the 20th. Let's mosey on. The sun is now, not quite. We'll go to the 21st. In the beginning of the day, the sun has joined these Venus and Mercury in Cancer, and it's heading into a full moon, because at 6:07 p.m., we see this first of 2 full moons in Capricorn. And this to me is an illumination of something that has been holding me back, a fear, a trepidation, somewhere where I don't feel good enough. I haven't worked hard enough. I'm not old enough. I'm too old. I'm too this, I'm too that. And I think that is probably the biggest lie you were telling yourself. So as you become aware that you've been telling yourself a lie that isn't true, because there's the focal point here. I don't know if you can see, if I can show you. Here's Neptune making a square to the sun and making a square to the moon. The moon and the sun are in opposition, creating the brightest phase of the moon. Neptune is favoring Pluto with this sextile. So there's an illumination for you in some way that really, I think, can blow the fog out. I'm not saying you won't feel a little jarring as the foghorn moves the energy out, but this is where you dig deep into your spirituality and into your practices, your meditations, your focal points. You don't necessarily even have to believe in a deity, but you could believe in the laws of the universe and start implementing them. This Neptune is at 29 degrees. That reduces down to an 11, which is the master number of thought. The sun is at 1. The moon is at 1. This is all about thought. We're seeing a focused energy most of the month inside of Gemini, your 9th house of beliefs and how you think in your everyday life, what you feel proud of, and that makes you feel expansive. So this full moon is really going to illuminate those interior structures, interior moon, emotional structures, Capricorn, that you've been building. And it's not about judging yourself. It's a piece of information so that you can then, integrate what you have illuminated and move your story forward, versus having it tethering you to something that feels erosive or feels like you're being drowned out. I must remember, because this North Node in Aries in your 7th house has been calling for you to express the me within the we's of your life. I hope that made sense, because this is the house of partnership for you. And in this South Node going through your 1st house, it's going to bring up old habits of thought, of behavior in cooperation and how you create peace. And if it has not empowered you, there is this North Node is like screaming for individual power. It wants it very ravenously. So it will not take no for an answer. All right, now let's jump to the last day of, well, I shouldn't say the last day, the 29th, almost the last day of June. And I'm just going to go back to 12 p.m. I hope I don't have to change it again. Oh, so I should have left it where it was. All right, forgive me. I'll go leave it at 6 p.m. We see that Saturn has started its retrograde. This is going to go on until November 15th, 2024, and the shadow periods are very long. The shadow period for Saturn started way back in March, and it'll go all the way until 2025, meaning that the shadow period is where there's still influence of the planet as it's recalibrating its motion. Now, we see that Saturn rules history, rules depression, limitation, government restriction, things that don't always feel fun, having to do something because you're told to, not because you want to. And Pisces, it rules history, ancestral history, the history of my soul. It's a polarizing sign because it's so spiritual that it sometimes finds it very difficult to be in the human experience because some of it's so harsh. Now there's going to be a revisit of this energy. So for Libra, this is going to be your 6th house of health, your 6th house of your mental health, of even your pets, and your employment, how you are of service to others, or if you are an employer. So you may be revisiting the structures, you may be revisiting some of how who knows, let's say you were writing something, maybe you're writing a screenplay or you're writing a book, you could find yourself going over chapters you thought you'd finished, but you decide to reread them and you do some sort of rewrite on them. This is going to be a powerful energy in the sense that Saturn rewards for people, over time. It's basically a planet that says, if we put it in a human framework, you do the time, you put in the time, you put in the hard work, the spit and the polish. You don't cry like a baby. You just get up and keep moving and keep plugging away, and I'll reward you. And while all of that is true about Saturn's nature, Saturn never picks the lane. You pick it. So when you pick a lane that you love, all that hard sweat, work, tears, everything that you feel, that's challenging has meaning versus when you're doing something just to provide something for someone else. So this is a really important time for Libras to allow this transit to define, to, bring structure to that which has no structure. And I say that because you pour water in a cup, it takes the shape of the cup. And so here Saturn's going, what kind of cup do you want to be? So I think that's super powerful and important. So that's going to go on for a while. So that's pretty much it for June. I will be back in July with another video for the monthlies. I hope that you like this. If you did, please please subscribe, please share. And comment. I'd love to see what you think about the videos. Sometimes I'm a little choppy. I'm usually in 3 places at once. I'm hearing intuitive energy, I'm looking at astrology, and I'm trying to be in my analytical brain at the same time. So forgive me if I'm a little choppy, as I said. All right, my Libras, sending lots of love to you. Have a wonderful June, and I'll see you in July. Bye-bye.